Oh my Lord, look at that. That is a face only a mother could love. Scout, you have become a dirt dog. That's all you are. You sit underneath the porch and lay in the dirt and dig. In my last video, I talked about using a rangefinder to help you ascertain the known distances around your homestead. In other words, standing here on my front porch, I want to know the distance to that greenhouse. I want to know the distance to that telephone pole, that fence line. I want to know the distance to the dock down there on the bayou. So that's what we did. I sat here on the porch and I set up all these distances. I know that it's 72 yards to the greenhouse. It's 26 yards to that telephone pole. It is, let's see here, if the wind will cooperate. It's 52 yards down there to the dock. That can come in handy if, God forbid, you ever had to defend yourself from this front porch. But you don't want to just do it from your front door. You want to know the distances to certain positions all along your perimeter and from whatever defensive positions you might want to take around your homestead. All right, this is a range card, an Army range card. I just downloaded it off the internet. You can do the same thing. And there's a lot of range cards out there. There's range cards for individual riflemen. There's range cards for squad weapons. There's range cards for snipers, for howitzers. And this is just a plain range card. Some of this stuff applies, some of this stuff does not apply to you as a prepper. Unless you're very, very organized, I don't think you're going to need the squad, platoon, and company. But you know, you could easily change this. If you do have people helping man your positions, you could maybe have some sort of ID that you would write there. The magnetic north is really important to have. When you put a person in, you dump them down, you want them to know where they are and which way the compass is pointing so that they can keep their bearings. And we talked yesterday about possibly shooting azimuths to some of these locations. I'm not going to get into that today, but magnetic north would be a really good thing to have. All right, so the way this works is the dot is your location. It's the position you've been assigned. And you want to have a range card like this for each position that you might think that you would use in defending your homestead. And then these concentric circles going out are for you to range the distance to different static positions. And then you're to draw on here those positions, whether it be a road, whether it be a building, a tree line, whatever. And that's what we're actually going to do today. We talked last time about this position. It's a pine tree on the western edge of my property, bordering the bayou. And from here, I can see all the way up to the bridge upstream. I can see a house on the other side of the bayou. And looking in the other direction, toward the south, I can see the bend in the bayou, which turns to the left and goes out to the bay. Now from this position, I could see somebody coming at me down the bayou, either from the upstream or the downstream approach. Now these are called avenues of approach. Any route that the enemy might take to get to you is an avenue of approach. You have to identify those, and then you need to range them and reflect them in your range card. Now in front of me, I've got a tree line. And I'm not sure how much you can tell, but right out here, there's a little copse of trees that jut out from the tree line. I need to take that into account because even though I don't have to worry, like I said in the other video, about a human wave attack coming at me, I do have to worry about rifle fire, sniper fire coming from that tree line. So what I've done is I've made a quick range card for this position. And you can see here, I have drawn the bayou, representation of the bayou with these squiggly lines. And I've gone off my my range card a little bit here because I have a peculiar issue in which the bridge is really far away, whereas most of the symbols and icons here are relatively close. So you see the squiggly lines, looks like a ninth grade boy drawing pubic hair. That's representing that tree line out there. And you can see how the copse of trees come in. I've designated that copse that comes in a little closer as 1. The tree line as 2. 3 is that bend, sorry about the focus, in the bayou. And then 4 and 5 designate the house and the bridge. So down here, again, I repeat the numbers and I give the distance and a brief description. And now what this does for you, let's say you plop someone down here that maybe, shit hits the fan and that brother-in-law you just really don't care for comes on down from North Carolina, and you take him in and you plop him down here with a weapon or two and say, okay, you're in charge of my western front. Now, even though he is new to the location, he can very easily, you can orient him very quickly with the important land features, and he can know the distance and the direction and all that kind of stuff. I didn't do direction. To these items, these locations, these icons, and he can be expected relatively well to be able to, put fire on these locations. Now you notice, just for fun, I put that the weapon was going to be an AR-15 and a Mosin Nagant. My farthest location that I'm worrying about at this firing position is the bridge, and I've got that bridge at 528 yards on my rangefinder. Now, we shot out to 800 yards with iron sights in the prone at boot camp with AR-15 or M16 A2s. Actually, I think A1s even, A2s though. Definitely A2s and A4s can reach out there. Suppressing fire, harassing fire, you can do it. But just for fun, I threw the Mosin Nagant on there because he could still pack a punch at 528 yards. So that's the real down and dirty about how a range card would work in the defensive position for a prepper. But let me show you my take on it. This is the Army and this is how they do it, but this is what I built for myself. So this is a kind of a range map that I've made, and I laid it on top of a scanned a survey I have of my property. And the red lines are emanating out from my front porch, and north is facing up in this case. And it shows you pretty much all of the locations we talked about in the earlier video. Now the blue lines over here, they're emanating out from the pine tree. Can you see that? And they're more about the blue lines show the different items and icons and land masses and locations and such that we've talked about today, although I really don't have the bridge on there. Now also, I went ahead just for fun and I made this map of the avenues of approach for my location. And you can see, of course it shows more than what we've talked about today. You can see I've got several avenues of approach. I've got waterborne and land, road avenues of approach that I've got to be concerned about. But that's a whole nother video.